Hello, this is Ethan Moreno, and today I'm going to be discussing the ear and how sound travels through it. First, we're going to start off talking about the basic structure of the ear, what structures are inside the ear that help sound travel from the outside of the ear to the inside of the ear, eventually making its way to the brain, where the brain is able to decode it and process it into sound. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the outer ear. The outer ear is referred to as the pinna. At the top of the pinna, you have the arch that is the helix, and here is your antihelix starting from about here up, which splits into the crura of the antihelix. This forms the triangular fossa. As you can see, it's shaped kind of like a triangle. The scaphoid fossa is located between the helix and the antihelix. It's this other little space. Down here is the earlobe. This is the earlobe. The tragus is the cartilage that goes over the opening of the external auditory meatus, which is also referred to as the ear canal. From the ear canal on the outside, we have the concha cave, which leads into the ear canal. And here is the antitragus that sits across from the tragus. Another little bulge there. That is the basic outer ear structure. Here's some more information about, well, not more information, but the basic information that I just covered. The bulge of the helix is referred to as Darwin's tubercle. Some people may have a little hump somewhere in here. May come like this or like this. That would be known as Darwin's tubercle. And the scaphoid fossa, as I explained, is located between the helix and the antihelix. And the antihelix is what really marks the entrance into the concha. This is some more information on the outer ear that I just covered, just basic read through. Next, we're going to discuss the middle ear and the parts that go into the middle ear. The middle ear is going to take off from the middle ear is going to start from the ear canal, which then goes into the tympanic membrane. And from the tympanic membrane, there are three bones, which are called the acicula chain. And the purpose of these bones are to transfer the sound into the inner ear structure, which we'll get to later. Right now, here is the basic middle ear structure. You have the ear canal right here, which here is the tympanic membrane, or the eardrum. Here is the malleus bone, the first bone of the acicula chain. This is the long process of that bone. Here is the short process. And then here is the head of the malleus. The malleus is going to be the largest of the acicula chain. Here is the incus bone, otherwise known as the anvil, because of its shape, shaped like an anvil. Here is the body of the bone, the short process, and the long process. This bone articulates with the stapes, which looks like stirrups. They call it a stirrup as well. And at the bottom of the stirrup, you're going to have a foot plate. This foot plate connects to a thin membrane called the oval window, which connects to the cochlea, and we'll get to that later. That has to do with the inner ear structure. But here's the tympanic cavity, the round window, which also has to do with the inner ear. And these are going to be the 3 smallest bones in the human body, but very vital to our hearing. And that is the basic structure of the middle ear. The inner ear consists of the cochlea, which has to do with mainly hearing, and then your balance of movement, and movement is with the posterior semicircular canal, the lateral semicircular canal, and the anterior semicircular canal. This is the ampulla, which in there the cupula is located with tiny hair-like structures and fluid that help with your movement and balance. And here is the oval window, which, as I said before, is connected to the foot plate of the stapes bone in the ossicular chain, which is located in the middle ear. And from the oval window, as you can see, you have a connection going down to here. This is going to be your round window, which then is we'll get to later about sound movement, but that's going to be important, is the round window. Here, over here, this snell-like structure is the cochlea. Back here is the auditory nerve, or the cochlear nerve, that's connected to the cochlea. And here are the vestibular nerves and the vestibule. Here's some basic inner ear information that I just covered. And basically everything's working together to get the sound to the brain to decode it and to produce sound. Sound travel through the ear. Basically, your sound waves are going to come from the outer ear, making its way to the ear canal, down the ear canal, and eventually to your tympanic membrane, which is the eardrum. The eardrum then pulsates almost, vibrating, articulating with the ossicular chain, which then leads to the stapes bone, which then pulsates to the oval window, moving the fluid-like substance in the cochlea, moving tiny cilia hairs back and forth, and moving the sound through the cochlear nerve and to the brain. At the beginning of the cochlea, about right here, is where we hear our more higher frequency sounds. Towards the inner area of the cochlea is where we are going to hear our lower frequency sounds. To hear these sounds, though, we have a very important structure inside the cochlea. This is going to be called the organ of Corti. And it starts in this area here, and it goes all the way around the spiral-shaped cochlea. And it's in the organ of Corti are in little cavities that are called the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. And in the middle we have the scala media. And then right here on this little speck we have the organ of Corti. Excuse me, I'm sorry for that typo. But the organ of Corti is right there. And sound goes through there and makes its way through the organ of Corti. Here is a closer view of the organ of Corti. And the organ of Corti has inner hairs and outer hair cells, as you can see right here and right here. And the tectoral membrane is what is over the organ of Corti. And here is the basilar membrane. And this pivots up and down whenever sound waves are going through the cochlea. And here's some fluid. These lines represent fluid all around the organ of Corti. And as this articulates and pivots up and down, the little hairs move across this surface right here, sending signals down to the base and out through this nerve cell over here, eventually making its way to the cochlear nerve, or the auditory nerve, which is then transferred over to the brain. So that's a basic overview of how sound travels through the ear and the basic structures of the ear. And these are some websites where I obtained some of my information and photographs. And I hope you learned a little bit something about the ear. And thank you. My name is Ethan Moreno.